Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Herb White at the Charlotte Post with my colleague Cameron Williams and Justice Smith football coach Maurice Flowers here for our first Football 704 program of 2025. It's an opportunity to talk a little bit of football, obviously, and now that the schedule has been revealed, we're going to go over this year's opponents and talk about each and every game scheduled for 2025. Welcome, Coach, again, and let's dive in. 10-game schedule, which the CIAA mandates because it also has a title game, and there are historic aspects. Using that word a lot around here lately in terms of the schedule. Give us your overall thoughts about the schedule and what went into putting together the non-conference part of it.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much for having me. I really do. I never want to take these opportunities for granted, but thank you for the coverage that you give JCSU and our athletics program and JCSU football. Thank you for everything that you do, and we look forward to continued success with this working together. As we look at our schedule, what went into our thinking for the non-conference schedule is, we've looked at our, not just this 25 season, but we looked at our program really from year one, and we felt that it was not best for our program and our players to, when we first came in, to set a schedule where we're just jumping out there playing some teams that we didn't feel we were ready for, that our program as a whole was not ready for. So what you're going to see is a very competitive non-conference schedule to prepare us for a very, very competitive CIAA schedule.
And first off in that schedule is Morehouse College, a team that you handled rather handily last year in Atlanta. But what stands out about this game is the venue. For the first time ever, the Golden Bulls are going to Massachusetts, and specifically, they're going to Harvard University.
Yes.
Not for classes, but to play football.
Yes.
It's a first, like I said, for Smith, and it's the HBCU Football Classic on August 30. Talk a little bit about Morehouse and the opportunity to play in the northeastern part of the country. I think that's a first as well.
Yes, it is. It's a first to have two HBCUs playing in the state of Massachusetts, playing against each other. So we're very, very excited about the opportunity, and to play at an institution that's just internationally known, Harvard. It's exciting also, and the sponsors putting on the event, they're getting us there a couple days early. There's some events that go along with it, really puts you in the form of a classic, the way they're doing everything. So we're excited to play in Boston at Harvard University. We're very excited. And then the opponent, Morehouse, well, we scheduled the 2-year contract with Morehouse. It was during our first season. At that time, Morehouse, we felt the two programs were at the same point, both rebuilding at that time. And so what we wanted to do was just see where we were going to be at that time when the contract was going to play in 24 and 25. So this contract was made for us in 22. And so since that time, Morehouse has got a new head coach, outstanding coach with the NFL career, Terrence Mathis. And so he's building the program. Last year was his first season. We all know first years can be very, very challenging. And so what we have noticed is that he's recruiting more transfers. And so he's bringing in some older guys. Really, you'll probably hear me say this about most every team that we're going to play, but we look for every team to be better. The transfer portal is enabling teams to get better quicker. And so we know it's going to be a challenging game. We've seen some of the guys he's bringing in, had a good young team last season, and so we look forward to be a very challenging game for us. And it's one of those cross-conference games, SIAC versus CIAA. And we definitely want to point out that last year the Golden Bulls were undefeated in cross-conference plays, taking on the opponents that we did, and we want to keep that going.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the game last year, you beat Morehouse 37-13. Terrence Mathis, like you said, he's in his second season. what should be the difference with Morehouse this year, other than the older players? And I guess the theory is you should improve more in that second season than first.
What we look for is his defensive coordinator is the same, and so the defense we expect him to be better. And offensively, now the offensive coordinator would have had another year to be in that seat and see if there were a lot of guys that fit his system or didn't. So we expected a much improved team. The game that we played with them last year, it was close at halftime. It was, the score was lopsided, but at the end, but it was definitely, I believe it was a one-score game at the half, and we put together a good second half and pulled away. But we look for a much improved team. They're going to come in with a new energy for a new season, and what better way for them to try to start a season off and beating a team that had a good season last year. And so we know they're going to come ready to play, and there's going to be a lot of added things with it, playing in Boston, at Harvard Stadium, and possibility of the game being nationally televised and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of other outside things going along with this game, besides the Golden Bulls having to play a very good and a very improved Morehouse ball club.
You mentioned it being possibly being nationally televised, it being in Boston. Talk about what this does for branding for the school and for the program, and just exposing the world to Johnson C. Smith.
Yeah, that it just continues from some of the things that we did this past season in 24 to, as Herb said, to play in the Northeast. It's something that we haven't done. If it's been done, it's been a long, long time ago. And so we're looking forward to that. We have a good alumni base in the Boston area. So it's going to be very exciting to see the alumni in that area and have an opportunity to see the Golden Bulls play. So we're excited, and also it's going to help with interest in attending JCSU. We're going to look forward. I know our president and the admissions team are already planning things for different events to promote Johnson C. Smith University. So it's an exciting time, not just for football, but for the entire university.
Second week is also historic for many reasons. Valdosta State comes to Eddie McGirt Field, against the Cut for the first time ever. It was the first meeting between the two schools.
Wow.
And Valdosta State is a perennial national power.
Yes.
We're not talking regional. This is a national power that was 13-1 last year, made it to the Division II title game and lost. And they also lost their coach in the offseason. The new head coach is Graham Craig, who takes over a program, like I said, is one of the best in the country,
Yes.
almost at any level.
Yes.
I guess the question is, how and why?
Yeah, right. How and why do you play, as you said, a perennial national power? When you think about Valdosta State, there was, I believe it was about 5 years ago, something, it was called Title Town, and it was focusing on high school football. But when you think about Valdosta High School, you have to also put in the same sentence Valdosta State. It's just, they win. They win, and as you mentioned, national runner-up last year, the Division II title game. And so how did it come about? Well, really, we really want to point it to the growth of our program. I would say Herb and Cam, we probably had about 8 to 10 teams that we thought we had contracts with to play, but somehow they kept falling apart. And we're not going to say teams were shy about playing the Bulls, but Golden Bulls, but somehow there would be breakdowns. But one team that's not going to back away from any game that's Valdosta State. And so we agreed for them to come to Charlotte. Now it's just going to be so big for our university to have a team with that much history, winning history coming. And it really goes with what we've said when we took over the program. We don't want to be good at HBCU football. We want to be known as a Division II team that competes at a high level. And what better way to measure yourself than to play Valdosta State University? And so it's going to be a great experience for us to have them come here. Their new head coach was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. And the quarterback they had was one of the Harlan Hill finalists, and so the quarterback is gone, but the coach is outstanding coach, got a great resume, been a lot of good places, and that program, it truly reloads. It doesn't rebuild, it reloads. And it's going to be a great experience for our ball club to have Valdosta State come here. And so if you want to measure yourself, you want to measure yourself against the best, and that's what we're going to have an opportunity to do.
What does that say about your confidence in your team and your coaching staff to say, okay, well, this is week 2, and we're going to run up against one of the best in Division 2. You're not going to schedule a game that you don't think you can win.
Right.
So obviously you know that something about this team that other people don't, because when you see it on paper, it's like, oh, they're playing Valdosta State, that's going to be lopsided.
Right.
Obviously you don't think that.
Exactly. Well, it just goes with the timing. As we said about even the Morehouse game, we scheduled that game early. And when in 22 to play in 24-25, this game, we would not even have thought about playing this game in 2022. We knew our program was going to grow and get better year by year, and that's what it's done. So with the growth of our program and going the right direction, we feel that it's time to step out there like this. When we looked at last season, really to scrimmage, the Wingate scrimmage for us last season was confirmation that we could play on another level. And it was confirmation. It didn't mean that we're going to run around and beat top Division II teams, but it meant that we can compete with very good Division II football teams. Wingate being a power in the SAC-A, and then handled themselves well in the playoffs. And as we know, we came up short by some things that were out of our control. But if you look at the teams that played in the playoffs, and let's just take the team from our conference, Virginia Union, beat Wingate, beat Lenore-Rhine, and lost to Valdosta State. And so we feel that our thing is not just to attempt to win a CIAA championship. We want to compete in the playoffs and go towards winning the national championship. And you're not going to do that by playing, as coaches like to say, the sisters of the poor. You're going to have to play good football teams. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to measure ourselves to see, hey, are you a playoff caliber program? Which was our goal from day one. And so it's just right now, it just goes with the timing of the program, the growth of the program, and it's going to be a great measuring stick.
Yeah, he's being modest. The Golden Bulls also beat Virginia Union. I thought I'd put that out.
Yes, we did.
And then the next week, the Valdosta State game is September 6th.
Yes.
Week after that, September 13th, you start with the CIAA portion of the schedule with Elizabeth City State, a program that went 3-7 last year, and it's been a while since Smith played Elizabeth City State.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that game and getting started against the CIAA school, and also this is where we start to try to figure out the thing that came up last year with how the CIAA counts games in the schedule in terms of what's a conference game and what's a non-conference game, even though it's a conference opponent.
That confused me right there, and I'm going to stay all the way away from that one because I don't have an answer for you. The answer I have for you, hey, if you win the games that you play, you don't have to worry about everything that you just mentioned, because my head is still spinning from what you just said. So to go to Elizabeth City State, first we have to start with the head coach, new head coach, Adrian Jones, coming from Shaw University. And if you look at the games that we've played against Shaw, they have been competitive games. And so we know they're gonna play good ball, they're gonna play physical football. And the last time we went to Elizabeth City, it was a close game. We were down big and just showed that. I feel like that win at Elizabeth City 2 years ago was really one of the ones that was a program builder. To be down a lot and to really never panic on the sideline. That's what I remember about our ball club being there the last time, is that we were down by 2 scores, maybe even 3 scores. And I'll never forget in the third quarter that their team, it was homecoming there, and their team was dancing and celebrating in the third quarter. And I remember our team just looking at them, and I said, oh, we're in great shape. And it's good because our young men were so confident at that point, and we won at the end of the game. And looking forward to going back. It's our only game on grass this season. Last year, our only game on grass was in Winston-Salem, but we're looking forward to that because you never know in the future, possibly a playoff opponent where you might have to be on grass. So we're looking for that challenge because, like I said, 9 out of 10 games most times are on turf now, and so we're looking forward to that challenge. So hopefully, get a dry day and have to deal with mud on that surface. But it's going to be a challenging game. Coach Jones is going to bring a good staff there. He's been recruiting well, as I can see on the social media sites, and bringing some good football players there. Had a number of guys from Shaw transfer there. The running back, big running back, who's a good ball player, is there, Elizabeth City now. So we know it's going to be a challenging game, and he's excited. I see he's in spring football right now, and he's very excited about what he has. So we know it's going to be a tough game for the Golden Bulls as we enter the play against CIAA opponents.
I want to ask you a question about your coaching style and philosophy, because your team's going to be coming off a game against Valdosta State where they're going to be hyped, they're going to be really up for that game.
Yes.
How do you make sure your team flips a switch and refocuses, win or lose against Valdosta State,
Sure.
and gets ready for an opponent that on paper the Golden Bulls should win?
We've already talked about those things, and what we've told our young men and our coaching staff is that it takes a mature team to handle the schedule that we have. You look at the first ball games that we're playing, of the first 6, I believe 5 of them are travel games. Even the Harvard game is listed as a home game for us against Morehouse, but we're flying to that game, and so. But it's a home game, but it's a travel game. And then Valdosta State, we're at home, and now Elizabeth City, we're on the road. But you look at it, a mature team has to handle this, and we feel like we're a mature team. Coaching staff that hasn't had much turnover, a lot of guys that have been in the program and know our culture and what our expectation is and our standard. And so to play against Valdosta State in a game that we know there's going to be a lot of emotion, playing a team that's going to probably come in and ranked in the top 5 in the country, and then we're going to have to stay up. I'm not going to say get back up, stay up for the next opponent, and that's what a mature team does. And so I would expect, the expectation is going to be the Golden Bulls are going to be up and ready to play for another travel game as we drive and we ride the bus to basically Virginia and go out to the coast at Elizabeth City.
Mm-hmm. And keeping up with the travel theme,
yes,
and maturity theme, the next week, September 20, you go to Richmond, Virginia to take on Virginia Union,
yes,
in a repeat or rematch of the game that Smith won last year that basically put you on the D2 map.
Yes. And you know what, we'll say that Virginia Union game for us last year was really, it was a statement game for us to play the defending CIAA champions, and then to also play a team that was ranked in the top 25. At that time, I believe they were like number 17 or 18 in the country. And so to play them at our place, and really the scoreboard, it was not indicative of the game. If you look at the game was really dominated by the Golden Bulls. And if it wasn't for a couple of long kickoff returns, it's not close. Defense was dominating. Offense had some empty red zone drives. The Golden Bulls really dominated that game, but you look at the score, it's a one-score game, and that's a credit to coaching staff at Virginia Union and their guys just fighting and staying in there, because that's what good teams do. They'll stay in there even if it looks like it should be a blowout. They're still around trying to find a way to win, but we know they're going to be looking for some get back. Or as they say nowadays, lick back is what they say. And so, and we definitely heard about it at the Legacy Bowl practices when our coaching staff went to support Bernari Black and Jack Smith in Louisiana, the defensive tackle Isaac Anderson, and tailback, the tailback, what's his name? Jada Byers. How could I forget his name? But they made it a point when they saw our coaching staff to say, Coach, we were looking for y'all in the championship game because we wanted to get that L off of us. And so we know the entire team for Virginia Union is going to be looking for us coming to town. It's going to be a 6 o'clock kickoff, and but we're not going to worry about what's on their mind. We just know the Golden Bulls will have a game that's going to be hotly contested. And what we will say too is that we've earned the right for that game to be a big game, and we're going to be looking forward to play the now 2-time defending CIAA champion on their turf. But again, this is about the building of the program. we weren't ready to play Virginia Union when we first got here. So if you look at when we played Virginia Union last year, it was at a point where the program had grown to a point that we're ready to play top teams in the conference and good teams in Division II.
Yeah, you take such a mature coaching approach to this because, see, if I'm the coach and I know that my team beat Virginia Union and Virginia State, I'm thinking to myself, we should have been in that title game. So is this a statement game that you could be like, okay, we beat them last year, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna whip some tail again this year and prove that, hey, we should have been in that title game?
Well, that's a great point. That's one way to look at it. It is, but what we look at is like we're in this weight room right here, and so with our young men know that every time that we have an opportunity to get better in the weight room, get better in practice, get better in meetings, that's our statement right there. So that every time we take the field, you should see a quality product. You should see a top team. So we're not going to put any more emphasis on that ball game with Virginia Union, because what we say around here is every game's a big game because the Golden Bulls are in it, and our young men believe in that, and we're going to take that game the same way. That every day is a big day of preparation. Every game is a big game for the program, and every opportunity we have is an opportunity to grow the JCSU brand. Again, we're doing things that haven't been done here at JCSU, and that's why our young men have come to JCSU to get a quality education and to do something in the football program that has not been done, to make history. And so that's one of the things that drives us. And so it's saying that, you know, what we know in the program, we did not do what we needed to do. It would be easy for us to sit back and say, everybody's against us, the conference doesn't like us, they found a way to keep us out of the championship game. I'm just saying what other folks say. You know, they just want the Virginia schools in it, and you know, the conference is pulling for them. That's what the folks say. We don't get into all that. What we want to do is just take care of our business and worry about us, and that's what we're going to do when we go to Virginia Union.
And you close September on the 27th against Bluefield State, a team that went 1-9 last year, in rebuilding mode, and kind of dragged them up and down the field. It's also homecoming.
Yes.
Imagine that, a
It's
September homecoming game.
Yes.
Okay, rip away.
Okay, we'll start with the September homecoming. Definitely out of our control with the scheduling. Our conference still is going through the process of dealing with the departure of St. Augustine, playing football, and so we still have an open week later in the season. That open week happens to be where our homecoming would normally be, and so because of conference scheduling, we have a bye where homecoming would normally be, and so we're not going to complain about it. We're just going to ask alumni to bring an umbrella to keep the heat off of them. It is September. And then getting to the opponent with Bluefield State, the game was a lopsided game, and they lost some games at the end of the season that weren't competitive at all. But the head coach last year was his first year, but really when you have a team that hasn't had a lot of success, and then as the season goes, you start sustaining injuries, you sort of lose the identity and things that you're building. When we played them, the game was, the first quarter, it was nip and tuck. The first quarter, I believe we went our first 6 weeks of the year last year, never trailing. But I remember that game was 0-0 for a good while in the first quarter before we started to break it open. The head coach is a defensive guy, a former defensive back. I believe he played at Virginia Tech, and I believe a short time in the NFL. And what I remember about that game was their secondary was very good, and so we expect them to, again, second year program growth, and we're catching them relatively early, which means relatively healthy probably, and so we're going to see them come in and put on a good show, because who wants to be scheduled for homecoming? You know, I'll go back to our 23 season. Our 23 season, we played in, I want to say 4 or 5 homecomings. You know, teams aren't so quick to schedule the Golden Bulls for homecoming now, but we went through that period, and that was part of the chip on our shoulder that we played with. Why are you scheduling us for homecoming? And so we're sure that they're going to come in with the same attitude.
Then October comes along.
Yes.
Maybe there'll be a change in terms of leaves and foliage. Who knows? But another tough game against the CIAA power, Virginia State.
Yes.
Another team that helped establish Smith on the football map last year?
Yes, sir. It starts with their head coach, Coach Henry Frazier. He's a winner. He built Bowie State to be a championship program and parlayed that success to go to the losingest college football program almost in history at Prairie View A&M. I believe at one time they had lost 100 games in a row before he took over. And so now you're looking at a coach that has that type of building capacity and has put together that type of success, built that school, Prairie View, into a winner. And so Henry Frazier, just that's where I start with him. Is a winner, a good teacher, and a good recruiter. They lose a number of young men, but I know he's going to reload, and they're going to put a quality product on the field. He's a championship level coach. We know we're going to have to play a good game to get out of Petersburg with a win. We look forward to the challenge.
21-17 was the result last year. And that was the one game as opposed to the Virginia Union game. Virginia State hung around.
Yes.
And if it weren't for Jack Smith's late game interception on the goal line,
yes,
could have been a different story.
Right. And outstanding ball club. Their defensive coordinator, Carlos Fields,
Played at Winston-Salem State.
All-American linebacker, and does a fantastic job there. His offensive coordinator, at that time, Coach Manigault, now the head coach at Shaw University, does an outstanding job, and he's a former player of Coach Frazier's also. So Coach Frazier had one of his pupils is actually his offensive coordinator. So just this starts with the staff, and they came in, and I'm not trying to give them any motivation for the game. What I will say is that we wanted to. We had some guys that hadn't had two positions that we needed some guys to get some quality playing time against a quality opponent, and that was quarterback Cam Chroma and also the receiver position. But Brevin Caldwell and all CIAA player Brevin Caldwell, wide receiver, and all CIAA quarterback Darius Social, we did not start those two gentlemen in that game. They didn't play until the second quarter. So Virginia Union came out and they had a great game plan, and the young men, Cam Cromer did an outstanding job, and the other receivers did a good job. And once we put our guys in, we started to get some few things going in the second quarter. But just they had an offensive line, biggest offensive line we've seen all year, quality system. And then the defense was flying around. I mean, it was a tough game. Their defensive line, I thought they won the battle in the trenches against us, and we know it's going to be a tough ball game. But we were fortunate to get away with the win. Jack Smith wrapped it up with the interception, but we really feel that's another one that we left some things on the field where we look to improve upon, and hopefully put some more points up on the board. I want to say that we had a couple of games last year that were close. Virginia Union and Virginia State, I want to say, both had 21 points for the offense that we scored. And we were stuck on 21 for some reason against those teams, but we feel like we're going to have a good plan and look forward to putting a lot of points on the board if we could.
Another coaching philosophy kind of question here. A lot of coaches will break their seasons up into 4 different quarters, first, second, third, and then playoffs. This will be a point in the season where you're exiting, the first half of the season, entering that third quarter kind of. Well, how does your message, I know you want to keep the message the same, like at least the main message, but this is the point in the season where you might have a few dinks, knock on wood, we don't see any severe injuries, but how do you keep a team level-headed the whole season through?
Well, I tell you, that you bring up a great point in that we do break our season up in different quarters, and this pretty much gets us to halftime. Yeah. We have a bye following the Virginia State week, and so we put a lot into that game, which is why we felt like that, regardless of the opponent that we were playing, that was the point where we needed to see if our number 2 quarterback was ready to go. That was the point where we felt like we needed to see if our receiving core had quality depth, and knowing that we had really 2 weeks to prepare and clean up anything that we needed to at that point. And so knowing that we have a bye week the following week after Virginia State, it really lets our team know sell out, sell out, sell out. Because our young men, what they're looking forward to is that we let them know if you play well, you're going to get a couple of days off. And so they had a lot of motivation to make sure we came out on the winning edge against Virginia State. And so it's going to be the same this year. When we prep for that game, we will put a lot into the preparation, knowing that we can take a deep breath for a minute after this ball game. We would like to be able to come back from that game, knowing on the road back, knowing that, hey, we can take a deep breath, get healthy, and clean up some things before the game in 2 weeks against Shaw.
And speaking of Shaw, that game is October 18. And Lamar Manigo, as you mentioned, the new head coach at Shaw. This is his first head coaching job.
Yes.
College level. And the game is going to be in Durham at Durham County Stadium, site of the CIAA title game this year after a long break from North Carolina. The game is coming back. Talk a little bit about the Bears and what you expect.
Well, what we do know is it's going to be a tough ball game. Anytime you play a team for homecoming, it's going to be a tough ball game. And we'll be playing Shaw for their homecoming. Up there last time, 2 years ago when we played there, it was homecoming, and I believe at that time we were like on a 3-game winning streak, and they broke it. And so we know that they're going to play us tough. Coach Manigo has been the offensive coordinator at Shaw before he left to go be the offensive coordinator at Virginia State when Coach Frazier got the job. So we've coached against each other at Shaw and at Virginia State. We know he's going to have his team ready to play. Everybody's ready to play for homecoming. And a point that you brought up also was that the site of the CIAA championship game, by default, last season in 24, we played Bluefield State, actually in Salem, Virginia. Where the game was supposed to be in Bluefield, but the hurricane had come through and power was knocked out in that area in Bluefield. So we had to, at the last moment, change the game to Salem, Virginia, the site of the CIAA championship game. So we had an opportunity to play on the site where the CIAA championship game was. So we know how our season turned out. We didn't get a chance to get back there. So new season, new opportunity, and our young men know that that's the site of the championship game, and get a chance to get a sneak peek at it. But most importantly, we've got to play those Shaw Bears. So we know they're going to bring a good ball club there. Coach Manigo, it's your first year. You always want to put a good product on the field in your first season, and he's an offensive guy. It's good watching his teams. He does a lot of good stuff. If you look at what he did at Virginia State to our defense when they played us, you see some teams trying to follow his blueprint because they did have some offensive success against our defense, which we know is tough sledding against our defense. And so, he's a good coach, and we know we're going to have a good plan offensively and defensively and special teams to come out of there with a win.
After Shaw is, I see you rubbing your hands. Winston-Salem State comes to the cut on October 25th.
Yes.
And for once for the first time in over 50 years, Smith actually has a win streak against the Rams.
Wow.
The last time Smith had a winning streak against Winston-Salem State, 1974, 75, or 75, 76, somewhere in there, but it included 1975.
Okay.
And that was also the last time Smith beat Winston-Salem State at Bowman Gray Stadium. So those Rams are accustomed to like dog walking Golden Bulls, but now the shoe is on the other hoof.
Let's say that. That's all of those things that you mentioned. How long it's been, and how Winston-Salem State is so used to beating Johnson C. Smith. All of those things are why we as a coaching staff, and it's not too often I like to use the word I, but it's one of the reasons that I will say that it's good to beat those Rams. It's good to beat those Rams because there is such those doggone Rams. Okay. It's good to beat them. And we've done it the last 2 years, and it has nothing to do with my good friend who's the head coach, Robert Massey. We've known each other since 1985. And yes, sir. And he beat me when he was a senior. I was a sophomore at East Meck, and Garinger was a very good team. They went to the playoffs. They beat us that year in regular season. Remember it like it was yesterday. But to play Winston-Salem State, a perennial CIAA juggernaut, and then I've got a Ram on staff, and Barry Tripp, who won a lot of championships there. And we don't wear red around here for a reason. And the kids know that it runs deep with me, same as another opponent. But I don't drink red Gatorade for a reason. So and it has to do with those folks. So it's good to beat those Rams, but we know they're going to be improved from the team that they were last year. I was told that if you looked at the schedules, that if the conference games were done a particular way, that Winston-Salem State and Johnson C. Smith would have been in the playoff game. So, I mean, in the CIAA championship game. So, go figure. But Coach Massey's got a good staff there, put together a good staff, and it starts with him at the quarterback. I mean, his quarterback's a player, and he's been doing some great recruiting. We often butt heads on the recruiting trail, and they've won some battles in recruiting, and we've won some battles, and we know it's going to be a good ball game. Just listening to him talk, and he's going through a good spring. Looking forward to a good season, and he does not hesitate to say what he wants to do with those Golden Bulls. So we're just going to take it as it comes. We're glad they're coming here. We know they're going to bring their faithful. We know they're going to bring that big old band. We know they're going to bring a great following cheering for those Rams. But I would really like, hopefully, we play one of our best games of the season, and pretty much come like last time we played them here. It was good to see that sea of red leaving early from the ball game. So we look forward to it, and we know it's going to be a highly contested game. A lot of Winston-Salem State enrollees, past and present, are from Charlotte, the Charlotte area. So we know there's going to be a lot of alums from Winston here at the game, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, so what's your message to the Golden Bowl Nation or faithful? Because you don't want those bleachers over there with it only being one side to be a lot of red.
Oh, yeah.
You want it to be all yellow and blue. So,
yeah.
I mean, how do you get them to get up for this game and come out and show up? Because, like you said, you don't want it to be a away game
Yeah.
at home.
Well, really, it's up to us as a football program. We have to give the Golden Bull Nation a reason to come and cheer. So it's up to us. So our first victory, the first of the two in a row, which was in 23 when they came here. I won't forget it. When we came out for warm-ups, Winston, their fans know how to do it now. They were here early, and they were past the 50. Okay, they're fans. But by the time the ball game was over, the Golden Bulls fans had pushed them over there, and then by the time it's really over, you see all those red just leaving out the stadium, and Golden Bulls had taken it over. But when we play them, I'm sure we'll have, like we had for a couple of games last season, we brought in temporary bleachers. That game won't be able to be one-sided. That I'm sure our athletic director and our president will have gotten temporary bleachers for that particular game. Some of our bigger games, and we won't even have to deal with those folks on our sideline and send them on across the way.
And then after that, on November 1st, by then we should definitely have some change in foliage. Is another trip.
Yes.
Fayetteville this time to take on the Fayetteville State Broncos, who are coming off a bit of a down season for them, but you get the feeling that Richard Hayes' team isn't going to stay there for long.
Not at all. Coach Hayes, outstanding coach, hired me not once but twice as his offensive coordinator in the midst of his, 7 years in a row. Fayetteville State went to the CIAA championship game. Coach Hayes just knows how to get it done. Outstanding leader, outstanding coach. And what I will say is, since we were here in 22, there's one team in the CIAA that we have played that we have not beaten. Mm-hmm. It's the Broncos. And so we've been here 3 years, and we've lost to Fayetteville State every year. And every year, except this past season, which was as a program, the best season. But the previous 2 years were one-score games decided in the last minute of the game. This past season, they just dominated us on our home field and shut us out. I mean, we came in, I believe, as the top offense, leading scoring offense in the CIAA, and we laid an egg. And just not a good performance at home. And so we look to get our first win against Fayetteville State. We know it's going to be a rowdy crowd, as it always is in Fayetteville, and Coach Hayes will have his guys ready to play. But that's a game where you don't have any problem getting up for either. Our coaching staff, I want to say at least 4 to 5 of us came from Fayetteville State that have coached there, and we definitely see them on the recruiting trail and have recruiting battles with them over players out of the transfer portal and high school young men. So it's going to be a tough game, going to be a highly contested game, and sure it's going to have some CIAA championship game complications in there, CIAA ramifications. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully it's not complicated by the time we get to that one.
And what didn't click last year? Because one thing, Herb was keeping me updated on the score, and I'm like, oh no, it'll click, they'll figure it out. And he kept giving me score updates. I'm like, okay, something's not clicking.
Yeah.
What was it in that game that just never really got going?
I just think that we just didn't show enough toughness in the ball game. When I say toughness, is the toughness to fight back. I just didn't feel like we did it that ball game. And also, you look at it, that was the ninth game of the season, and you got to look at we hadn't spent any time trailing all season, so now we're in a new situation, trailing in a ball game, and we just did not respond. But again, it was a growth opportunity for us, because even though it was a so-called down year for Fayetteville State, they still have championship mettle. They know what it's like to win. They know how to win. They were going through a rebuilding process at certain positions. Another new offensive coordinator, his first season, but they put it all together against us. They really put it all together, and hats off to them. And but a game where it just didn't happen for us, and I just thought it started with our toughness overall, execution-wise, and it didn't happen. But I think it all stemmed from how tough we did not play. We did not respond well to adversity, and it was a good learning experience for our young men. And after the game, the thing that sticks out after the game was when we were shaking hands, players and coaches, the thing that they were saying the whole time was, hey, y'all go win the championship. Y'all go win it. So the respect between the two programs is tremendous. But even though they had beat us, there wasn't like any bad blood. It's like they recognized that we got y'all's number today, but we know that you're a team that's really good, and go win a CIAA champion for the Old South, because we're members of the old Southern Division, and so they were pulling for us, to win the championship game if we would have got there, just as a sign of support.
And then there's one, the commemorative classic.
Yes.
November 8th, Livingstone College, the school that you don't like to mention by name,
Yes.
comes to Charlotte, and you close out the regular season.
Yes.
They followed up on Fayetteville State's win last year, and they beat you at their place and slammed the door on your CIAA tournament aspirations.
And playoffs.
Yeah.
And playoffs. Looking forward to it is all you can say. It's a rivalry game, but what I look for us to do, and our team knows, they've heard whatever about that game, but what we do know, you can't say don't put too much on the game or whatever. That's a big game. It's a big game for both programs, both schools, and things like that. The commemorative classic, the first two HBCUs to play in a football game. That is so big. And so to play in that game is really, it gives me chills every time thinking about having played in the game and being 3-1 in the game as a player, and probably having some of my best games against that team, that school. I think I said 3-1 as a player. I'll say that. Yeah. So,
what school would that be?
That school up the street in Salisbury. And so, but it's a good run. And Coach Gilbert has done a good job building that program, and making them competitive. I mean, they had some history on their side, I want to say, last year. You have to keep up with your opponents, regardless if you like them or not, the school or not. So they did some good things. I mean, won a bunch of games. I think it was their first time winning more than 5 games. I think it was their first time in more than 10 years that they did that. And so they're an improving program, is what I'll say. And so I want to say our first year, we lost to them in overtime. Game that we were out in front and lost the lead. Year 2, they came here, and it was a lopsided win by us over them to finish up 7-3, and then go to the bowl game in year 2, and then here year 3, another close game. And what I'll say is, I just thought offensively we didn't get it done. College football today, in the era of spread offenses and points everywhere. To hold a team to 15 points, we lost the game 15-10, but you hold a team to 15 points, you should win. And we just didn't get it done on offense, is what I'll say. I thought our defense, yes, we had opportunities on defense. We had a dropped interception that would have ended the game, that we should have caught, and but we didn't handle. But offensively, we should have taken care of business. And 15 points, that's not a lot of doggone points. So we know what we have to do, and we just look for the trend. This trend, I can say it because they're coming here this year. We look for that trend of them being beaten by a lopsided score at the cut. We look for that to continue.
So, looking over this schedule, other than the CIAA part, because you get to see these folks on a consistent basis.
Yes.
Talk about when you look at this overall, what stands out to you? Whether it's the overall competitiveness of the schedule or the opportunities that are in front of you, what leaves you getting when you look at the schedule?
The things that you just mentioned. First, I'll start with the competitiveness of it. We expect every team on the schedule to be better than they were last year. And that's with the state of college football right now. The state of college football, the transfer portal is here. And so with the transfer portal being here, you have to really know that teams can go recruit other experienced players to help their program out immediately. And so with that, teams are going to be better. So that's what we see in the competitiveness of the schedule. And then you have to look at the opportunity also, as you said, the opportunity for Johnson C. Smith to be able to play good football teams and have an opportunity to establish ourselves as one of the top teams in the CIAA and in Division II. That opportunity is there, and we're looking forward to that opportunity.
So there you have it, the overview, review of the 2025, preview too.
Yes,
We
sir.
got all the views working here of the 2025 Johnson C. Smith football schedule. I appreciate you coming on, Coach, and having this opportunity to lay bare your thoughts on the season ahead. Of course, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but at least the schedule looks good. So
Yes.
we'll see how that works. Cam, you have anything you want to throw in there?
Well, this season I'm getting my 4th P back because I lost it last year
Because of Smith.
because of Smith. Well, because of my overconfidence. But I'm going to say they're going to match or better their record from last year. I'm going to go on record, and we look forward to having Coach Maurice Flowers back for our Chalk Talk later this year, closer to time for football season to start. But that's all I got.
Okay, and for all of you out there, we encourage you to go to our website, thecharlottepost.com, and support our work, which includes this video production, as well as our journalism that goes out and wins awards from people that we don't even know, and become a donor, subscriber, or subscribe to our sports newsletter where we keep up with the Golden Bulls like nobody else does in Charlotte, and Black college sports in general like nobody else. So go to our website, thecharlottepost.com, join us as a supporter, and we appreciate you paying attention to us with our podcast as well on Queen City Podcast Network and our YouTube channel. And so for the coach and Cam, I'm Herb. Thanks for watching and listening.